Next up, Ben from XDesign.
Hi there, I'm Ben from XDesign. We build those expensive apps he's talking about. Right now, I don't have any slides. Back in 2004, I was part of a team, a project that was making a piece of software, a digital system that tracked phone orders and sales and mapped them to advertising campaigns. It's essentially the Google Analytics of TV and radio. One company in particular particularly liked that. And they were a company called Jamster, who owned the Crazy Frog ring, ding, 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 ringtone brand, which, if you remember, was so popular that in 2005 it did 600 million in revenue. And we discovered that the way to make people buy the most amount of ringtones was to show them the exact same ad again and again and again. We put it at the beginning of the MTV commercial. We put it at the end of the MTV commercial. If you watched MTV for an hour, we made that ad appear 10 times to you. 16 to 24-year-olds saw that ad 200 times in a single week. We battered you into submission. And marketeers like me, when it took that thought, battering people into submission, and we put it into digital, we put it into mobile, and it has corrupted what people think the potential of apps are. The other thing that has corrupted it is the incredibly sexy topic of paper size standardization. First posited in the 1700s and then popularized in the UK after the First World War to reduce wastage, it culminated in 1979 with the standardization of A4, which is half of A3, which is half of A2 up to A0, which is 1 square meter of paper. However, it is the default size for all digital documentation. It's the default size for how you design things from the beginning, from the second you draw it on a notepad. It is not a good size to deliver information. It was never designed to be the right way to think about things. It was simply an easy way for a paper merchant in the 1700s to half and double paper orders. And it has corrupted how people think about apps. It has limited how we think about things, because when we think about apps, that is the legacy that you bring with it. This battering into submission marketing mixed with the legacy of paper, and it gives this impression that apps are an extension of these skill sets, that to build one successfully, you need to have those same skill sets. You do not. A mobile phone is the most powerful computing device somebody owns. An app at its best is a piece of engineering. It is software that lives in your pocket. It requires engineers and quality assurance and specific designers. It is a product. And you need to understand that to be prepared for a rate of change that is happening. So the Gigabit Society, which is the name that the CEO of Vodafone gives to it, is a reference to this impending 5G world that we'll live in, which comes out in 2020. And there's a bridge to that, which is 4.5G, called LTE. And what that is 4.5G is faster. It's faster than home broadband. It has lower latency, the time it takes to do something. It powers the Internet of Things because it allows you to have tens of thousands of devices on the cell with battery life that lasts 10 years rather than months. It lets you make calls inside of stadiums. It locates you indoors. It is this rocket fuel to mobile. And this technology of the future, when does it arrive? It's here now. It's in London. It's in Birmingham. It's in Manchester. Like winter in Game of Thrones, it is coming. And to take advantage of it, you have to think like a product person. You have to look at your users and go, what can I do earlier and finish later for them? I have to build things with utility, better, faster, easier. I have to leverage the most powerful computing device they own, and I have to take the data that comes out at the end and feed it back into the beginning to make a self-improving loop. It is a product. It is engineering. It is not meant to be easy. You are building a bridge from where your customers want to go to where they have to go. You are building a rocket to the moon. So just as Brian was saying, there are things that you need to know. You need to know about how Google have changed the mobile. You need to know app indexing. You need to know something that's called in-apps. It's different. You need to know about deep linking and how all of that's going to be put together with accelerated mobile pages product. Because if you do not, you're going to have a really difficult 2017, because your competitors do.
And what you need to do to build a successful app is understand that you don't know what you're doing, but commit to trying anyway, because that's actually how we got to the moon in the first place. Thank you very much.